Hi, everyone. Kevin Harlan here with Steve Kerr and Clark Kellogg. What a great Saturday night for the NBA on 2K Sports. The Hawks were no match for the Bulls in last year's playoffs, but they'll try to turn their luck around when they get together tonight here at the United Center in Chicago. Looking at the starting five for the Atlanta Hawks. Hinrich and Johnson in the backcourt. Smith and Horford at the 4 and the 5. And it's Williams at the small forward. And for Chicago, Rose is flanked by Bogans in the backcourt. It's Gibson and Noah at the 4 and the 5. And it's Dang in at the 3 spot. Now here's Gibson. Bogan. And a miss there on the triple.
Al Horford got a nice big extension from the Hawks, Kevin, going into last season. And I think he earned every penny of it. He had his best pro season yet.
Now here's Gibson. Following the miss by Al Horford. Doris Burke had a chance to catch up with head coach Tom Thibodeau.
One of their harder tasks in this game will be finding a way to slow down the explosive scorer, Joe Johnson. He said there isn't any one answer, as Johnson can and will play so many different roles in an offense throughout the course of the game. He said he can initiate plays as well as finish plays. We'll just have to make sure we don't lose track of them. Guys?
All right, Doris, thanks. I like that note there on Horford. Clark, he's a terrific player, deserved the money. No drastic changes either in his numbers after the big contract signed. Steve, just a steady improvement in every facet.
Yeah, that's right, Kevin. The career highs in field goal percentage, free throw percentage, assists, points. I mean, he's really developed into a rock-solid power forward, kind of an old-school power forward. He just does a little bit of everything down there.
Kurt Thomas, he's checked in for Chicago. Here is Bogans. 3 on the clock. Fires for 3, and that one's good.
A little slow on the defensive rotation there.
Here is Hinrich. About 3.5 minutes left in the first quarter of the game.
Well, you look at Atlanta's team makeup last year, and it was similar to previous seasons. Very talented front court, some strong wing players, but nobody really running the show, and that was one of the reasons they traded for Kirk Hinrich at midseason.
Just 5 to shoot. Johnson, the pass to Smith. That's good, and it's Johnson with the assist. Smith's got his second basket of the night. Back to Atlanta. They haven't had a controlling point guard in quite some time, Clark. You know, we heard Steve talk about Hinrich. Good pickup. They may still be looking for a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you may be right. Eventually, it always seems to catch up to them not having that elite, premier point guard type. They played well in the postseason without one. They'll need a true floor general to become great to take that next step.
A couple of years ago, they had that high pick, and they could have chose
Chris Paul, CP3. I remember that.
And went another direction. Here's Hinrich, following the score by Luol Deng. Hinrich kicks to Johnson. Back to Hinrich. 3-pointer. Bogans grabs the miss.
Boy, with an open look like that, he is so gifted. Man, you've got to play better defense. Eventually, he's going to make you pay.
You got that right. I mean, he'll do it from three-point land or anywhere on the perimeter, really, because he is a deadly shooter. You've got to do a better job defensively.
Now Rose, after Kirk Hinrich's 3-pointer that didn't go. Over Hinrich. They get it again. Here's Noah, and it's blocked. Fast break, here they come. Pushes up, and Hinrich with the basket, the assist by Johnson. Here's Rose. 20 points for him last game against New Orleans.
Joe Johnson was a big part of the Hawks' playoff push last year, but like in the regular season, his scoring was down a peg.
And Noah backs down. Hinrich is tagged with the reach. That's his first foul. Chicago making some changes. Asik is checked in for Noah. Gibson comes in for Kurt Thomas. And Ronnie Brewer's subbed in for Keith Bogans. Damian Wilkins checked in for Atlanta. Teague comes in for Kirk Hinrich. Here is Rose. Looking for his first bucket of the game. Passes it to Brewer. Wilkins picks him up. 6 on the shot clock. Open shot. Dang. And again, no good by Chicago. Back to Joe Johnson, Clark. He's seen a pretty hit or miss game to game in the playoffs. And Steve, they're paying him a lot of money to be good in the playoffs.
Well, he's probably getting paid a little too much, to be honest with you, but that's not his fault. That's the contract his agent negotiated, but he's a player who relies heavily on that jump shot. And as we all know, sometimes the perimeter jumpers don't go in. And with him not going to the foul line as often as he did early on, those numbers are going to be down some nights.
Pulls up. Shot's good by Gibson. 46 seconds left in the first quarter. Here's Teague. And Rose picks him up defensively. Teague kicks to Horford.
I really like Al Horford's game, guys. He rebounds the ball, he defends. He's a nice passer, too. And he's a guy who can score. Not a fluid post game, but you throw him the ball down there and he can score for you.
And he sinks the second. Here is Rose. It's 9 seconds separating the shot clock and game clock. Rose double teamed. Teague is whistled for reaching in. That's his first foul of the game, and the bonus will go to the free throw line. And he makes the first. So both teams making some changes here. And Rose drops them both. Here's Crawford. The fadeaway, and he beat the buzzer, but it's no good. And the second quarter getting underway. No team gaining an edge so far.
In that first round against the Pacers, the Bulls got a bit of a scare, but they were able to bounce back and get it done in 5 games.
So with Johnson sitting on the bench, here's the group that Larry Drew has on the floor. We've got Crawford. Josh Powell is out there with Marvin Williams. Then there's Pachulia. And it's Heinrich in at the 1 spot. Back to the Bulls. Steve, they kind of started the playoffs a little bit slow against Indiana, a very feisty Pacer team, but then turned it up in the later rounds.
Well, remember, this is a young team, and it was their first taste of the playoffs. So they got the experience. They started to really turn it up against Atlanta. Then, of course, ran into Miami and kind of ran out of steam.
And it's the Hawks with the ball. The Bulls knocking down the 3.
I thought he'd make that one. And that's his range, and the defense nowhere to be seen.
Watson with it. Guarded by Heinrich. Down to 5 on the shot clock. Noah. So the whistle blows on the shot and 2 free throws for the contact right there.
Look, Noah really not missing a beat in the playoffs last season as he continued to patrol the paint, attack the boards, and play with that passion and energy that has been one of his trademarks.
Catching up on the changes for Chicago. Kurt Thomas, he's checked in for Gibson. Bang comes in for Rasula Butler. And it's Bogans in for Ronnie Brewer. Now here's Williams. The dish to Smith. He's guarded by Thomas. Nice shot by Smith. Smith's got 9. You're right about Noah, Clark. Steve, he had some big games for the Bulls in their run.
He was great. He struggled to score at times, particularly against Miami in the conference finals. But scoring's not really his game. He's a guy who affects the game through defense and rebounding and emotion and just kind of that aggressive attacking nature. So, yeah, Joakim Noah is one of my favorite players in the league to watch.
And again, no good by Chicago.
Boy, he had a good look at that one. You hate to miss that shot.
Heinrich dishes to Horford. Shakes him. He gathers. And it's Chicago with the rebound. And this game, the first chance they've had to see Atlanta.
And guys, this is a basketball team that they faced in the conference semis last year and won that series. So there's some emotion here tonight. You can feel it out on the floor.
there he goes. He didn't get a three in the first, but starting to look for it here.
And now the first timeout called here for the Hawks. They couldn't put the pieces together, losing that last matchup with Boston.
Yeah, and their long-range shooting really deserted them in that game, guys. They couldn't get anything to go from that line.
And that made all the difference in the game. I mean, they clearly tried to use the three-pointer as the primary weapon, but because they weren't falling, it was disastrous.
Catching up on the changes for Chicago. Asik has checked in for Noah. Gibson comes in for Kurt Thomas. And Derrick Rose is subbed in for C.J. Watson. They definitely have the psychological upper hand, you could say.
That's for sure, and I think that will definitely fan the flames, Kevin.
Rose kicks to Dang. The three is launched. Again, the miss by Dang.
Yeah, no excuses there. Got a really good look at the basket after being freed up by the pick.
We say it all the time. The execution was excellent. The result not as good, but good ball movement anyway.
Here's Rose following the bucket by the Hawks. The pass to Bogans. Back to Rose. Guarded by Heinrich. Oh, that's blocked. The Hawks leading by 4. Here's Johnson. Hammers it in after taking it the length of the floor.
Good job there. No hesitation taking the ball right to the rack.
You know what, guys? Always the best plan in that situation.
Well, Chicago really established its home record last year at the United Center. In fact, they finished with the best record at home in the Eastern Conference. That was one of the big reasons why they were the #1 overall seed in the playoffs.
That's the bucket. Hogan's got his second bucket of the night.
Come on now, you got to pay better attention than that on a shooter like him. We'll make that 10 times out of 10.
Backing him down is Johnson. And the layup falls. And the Hawks lead by 5. You mentioned the Bulls, Steve, tied the other #1 seed, the Spurs, for the best home record in the entire league. Boy, those were two great teams in the regular year, Clark.
They certainly were. 36 wins and 41 tries. Just what you'd expect from a team that was so dominant at home like the Bulls were.
Here's Dang after Joe Johnson scored. From downtown, Dang can't get it to go.
Shot seems to be a little awry today, just off a fraction. They've got to have him pick it up, though, and soon.
Johnson inside. Easy shot, and the Hawks getting another basket right there.
Tell you what, since the end of the first quarter, he has really come alive.
Now Bogans. He's got 6. Outside Rose. It's blocked. And so that brings the first half to a close. Hawks lead by the Hawks.
And it's HB at the half. The Pistons came out on top against the...
And the third quarter about ready to get underway. Here's Heinrich. 7-point differential.
Well, Rose has become the cornerstone of this Chicago franchise. In fact, last season, he became the first Bulls player to be named as a starter in the All-Star game since Michael Jordan.
It's Gibson and Noah at the 4 and the 5. Rose is flanked by Bogans in the backcourt, and it's Dang in at the 3. So that's who Tom Thibodeau starts the second half with. Outside Rose. He's picked up by Heinrich. The kick out to Dang. Clock at 6. Over Johnson. Dang with the bucket. Dang's got his team on the board first here in the second half of the Bulls. Steve brought up Rose as an all-star. You've talked about his MVP season. You think there would have been some in between he and Jordan for such a storied franchise, but it took a while.
Yeah, it did take a while. Sometimes that's the way it goes. If you're not winning, you can have good players, and they just don't quite get that all-star nod. They've had some good players, but clearly Derrick Rose has made that a moot point because he's going to be a perennial all-star as long as he's healthy.
Clark, think how hard it is to be the #1 overall pick. Then to be the #1 overall pick by your hometown team.
That's a great point.
Where you grew up. That's got to be tough.
It's really difficult, but a credit to him, but he seems to have a nice nucleus of support around him. His brothers, his mom, extended folks, and that makes a big difference because there's great pressure. Not only being number one, as you mentioned, but I think even more so playing in the city that you grew up in.
Making a switch here, the Bulls. Thomas is checked in. Here's Johnson. 6 points for him. Hinrich outside. Kicks it out to Johnson. From past the arc. The Hawks again can't hit.
3 straight misses here to start the second half.
Bulls trail by 3.
Boy, you look at the way the Hawks finished last season, you thought they'd slip early in the playoffs, but they came out a different team.
Rose passes to Noah. It's stolen by Smith.
And nice swipe there. You can see his eyes.
And the big-time jam. Let's see it again with the Sprite Slam Cam.
There isn't anybody in the building that didn't appreciate that throwdown.
Well, Steve, that's as fancy a finish as you could possibly get.
A serious degree of difficulty on that one.
Rose kicks to Dang. Williams picks him up. Here is Bogut. He's guarded by Johnson. 4 on the clock. And there's Derrick Rose on the assist by Bogut. Rose has got 5. And here's Hinrich. He has 5. Now here's Johnson. He passes to Horford. Over Noah. Horford, no luck.
Great close out there, forcing the errant shot.
Well, he made it a tough shot again. He didn't give up on it, and he got a hand up.
Outside Dang. Outside Rose. And stolen by Williams. Here's the break. Makes the lead pass. Smith gets it to go on the assist by Hinrich. Smith's got 4 points in the quarter.
That is a terrific play. You hear me? A terrific play. I call that a room service time because all he had to do was catch and finish.
With this break in the action, we can show you the teams that had the most rebounds last season. The Bulls in second.
Yeah, it was an impressive campaign for their big men, and I thought the whole team did a really nice job of getting bodies on people and really boxing out.
Catching up on the changes for Chicago. Taj Gibson's checked in for Thomas. Sewell Butler comes in for Luol Deng. And Ronnie Brewer's subbed in for Keith Bogans. Now here's Rose. He's got 5. And Noah backs down. Over Pachulia. Noah's shot is off. The Hawks leading by 4.
And Noah received that big contract extension before the start of the season. And I think he lived up to it. He did have some injuries during the year, but he's such a valuable player for Chicago because of his ability to rebound and defend, especially around the paint area.
And so here is Chicago. Just 4 points. That's all they've given up here in the second half. Defeated by the Hornets in their last game. They'll try to put that one behind them.
I thought they'd come out a little sharper in the second half, but it really didn't happen. I mean, they started out slow and they finished slow.
Well, Steve, I guess there's one thing we can say is that they were consistent, just not in the way you want to be consistent.
You brought up Noah. You know, a lot of guys get a contract extension and start to relax, but he kept playing with the same fire that got him to where he was.
You know what? I think the way he has matured from his rookie season till now speaks volumes to his heart, his passion, his dedication, and his focus. I'm very impressed with that young man, and I'm not surprised that he continues to play with a hunger and a thirst that I think is going to serve him well for a long time.
Just got to rein in his emotions. We saw what happened. Remember that in the Eastern Conference Finals when he was yelling at the fan, and that was an issue.
Yep. I think he's getting better, but you're right. He does need to soften that edge a little bit.
Heads-up play, preventing the easy lay-in.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, he saw it was a free layup, didn't want to give that up, so he fouled him to force free throws.
Luol Deng is checked in for Chicago. Watson comes in for Derrick Rose. Atlanta also making some changes. Al Horford, he's checked in for Pachulia. Powell comes in for Marvin Williams. And it's Crawford in for Joe Johnson. Now here is Smith. He's got 13. Just 2 seconds between shot clock and gameplay. He's picked up by Deng. Smith kicks to Horford. Shot clock at 5. Shot from the low block. And the shot is good. And the Hawks lead by 7. This one for 3. Got it off in time, but it's no good. And a great show through 3 quarters as we enter the 4th. Who will kick off? Now let's check in with Doris Burke for our Sprite Spark of the game. Doris?
Hi, guys. Well, it was the stretch by the Hawks that garners the Sprite Spark today. Coaches love when there's no let-up on the defensive end, and they continue to extend their lead by simply not giving up any points. It's been a clinic out there on the defensive end, guys.
All right, Doris, thank you. That run was a critical stretch part of the game.
It sure was. I mean, once the pilot light was lit, they didn't let up.
Well, offensively, it all came together for them, Clark, and it really allowed them to kind of take control of the game at that point.
So with Johnson sitting on the bench, here's the group that Larry True has on the floor. We've got Jason Collins. Marvin Williams is out there with Horford. And it's Crawford and it's Heinrich in at the point guard position. Watson dishes to Korver. Here is Watson. The tray. Korver, no luck. The Hawks leading by 6. Heinrich with it. Williams gets to Crawford. Shoots over Bogans. And Crawford with the basket on the assist from Marvin Williams.
Probably time to bring an extra defender, change up the defense a little bit.
Well, Steve, he's been so good. I think they got to take the ball out of his hands right now.
Here is Korver. And Crawford picks him up defensively. Dang against Williams. From about 16. Here's Thomas. Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give him 2 chances at the free throw line here. It's going to be on Kirk Heinrich.
Yeah, the official all over that one. That's a good call there.
You got to give credit to the official there. I mean, being in the right position to make that call, that's what they get paid to do.
Catching up on the changes for Chicago. Joakim Noah, he's checked in for Dan. Brewer comes in for Kyle Korver. And Derrick Rose is subbed in for C.J. Watson. Now, here's Thomas. Backing him down is Johnson. Noah picks him up, and that one's good. That's 10 points for Johnson.
Another inside bucket. They've got a huge edge in points in the lane.
That's what every coach preaches, inside out, reversible clothing.
Here's Rose. Now Bogans. Yes, and it's Rose with the assist that time. Bogans got 6 in the quarter.
9 straight points for them off of wide open looks from deep. Something has to change for this deep.
Yeah, they're just giving up too many easy shots out there. They've got to close out harder, get a hand up, make and put it on the floor.
Now here is Smith. Machulia the pass to Johnson. Shoots over Bogans and blocked. Bulls trail by 5. Right side Rose, and Rose throws it down hard. Let's see that again on the Sprite Slam Cam.
Well, he took that one to the rack with some purpose.
I'll say beautiful dunk there, Steve.
Yeah, how about the agility? Just the power and the skill, impressive.
Time called here. The Hawks decide to talk it over.
He's dialed in from long range. They got to stay in his hip pocket and deny him the catch.
All right, let's go over to the sideline with Doris Burke.
Over that last break, Kevin, I got a chance to hear what Larry Drew said to his team. His advice was simple. This is going to be a fantastic win if we just keep our heads together and work as a unit for the last few minutes. That's the most important thing. We work as a team, not individuals. Guys?
Thank you, Doris.
Well, he's had enough of that lackadaisical defense. They've got to help on penetration and deny all of these points in the paint.
Here is Bogans. And here's Rose. And it's Johnson picking him up. Shot clock at 6. Here's Rose. Cannot hit, so the Hawks will take it the other way.
They really need to start looking elsewhere, guys, because he can't get anything to go.
Joe Johnson on the wing. He's covered by Rose. No good with the elbow jumper. Bulls trail by 6. And it's Johnson picking him up. Straight up. That's blocked. And it's the Hawks with the ball. 6-point game. Hinrich outside. Back to Johnson. Rose gets called for the reach. That is his first foul of the game. Here's Hinrich. Feeds it to Johnson. High post try. Another miss by Johnson. Here's Rose.
That's going to be tough here, Clark.
You know, I agree with you, Steve. I mean, they need some big plays to steal this one. Tell you what, it seems like all it takes is just a little bit of defense for him to be tentative on those layup attempts.
Rose against Hinrich. Five to shoot. Here's Johnson, and it's going to go the other way. Chicago calls timeout. They're behind by 6. There's 21 seconds left in the game. What do you think, guys?
I think they have to go for a 3 right now, don't you, Clark?
Yeah, I don't think they have any choice but to go for the 3, Steve.
Looking to get back on track here. For the 3, sinks it. What a beautiful shot to bring him to within 3.
Yeah, you can tell they're getting frustrated defensively out here. All these three-pointers falling.
Yeah, Steve, they're ready to throw their hands up. You can see it. The frustration is very visible. I mean, when you spread the floor and shoot the 3 the way they've done here in the second half, it's really hard to defend.
And his second attempt at the line, no good. Shoots from 12, and it's wide right.
And you got to like the defense inside, really protecting the rim.
Challenging shots and making his presence felt around the rim. That's exactly what